I remember feeling so insulted, thinking, how dare you? After all of the things that I tolerated, after all the things that you did to me, which, yes, he did a lot of terrible things. I'm in no way trying to absolve him from his crappy behavior, but it really did become a choice after a while that I was continuing to choose that.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Higher Vibe Society podcast. If you are new, my name is Zena Blackburn, and I'm a spiritual wellness coach and teacher. And my vibes are spiritual love, wealth, and wellness. So, real quick, due to the issues with the video portion of this episode, this one is going to be full audio, but I promise you it's going to be full of gems like always. And guess what? I have an exciting one this week because your girl got a guest. Okay. This week, I'm chatting with Miss Vanessa Lynne, who is an accredited life coach, NLP practitioner, energy healer, and the creator of the Shift Method, her signature framework that helps people break toxic cycles, come home to themselves, and finally live in alignment. She's also the founder of the Vanessa Lynne Wellness Collective and host of the On Some Real Shift podcast, where she keeps it real about emotional mastery and personal transformation and the messy, beautiful truth of inner work. She really does. In this episode, Vanessa and I are talking about her spiritual journey, how it began, trauma and lessons in relationships, some of her favorite spiritual modalities, and the amazing, empowering container and program she birthed. That is the Vanessa Lynne Wellness Collective. Vanessa blends deep mindset coaching with trauma-informed guidance, Reiki, and sound healing to support high achievers who look like they've got it all together, but are secretly craving real peace. Her work is a mix of science, spirit, and straight up soul. The one-on-one coaching, retreats, and now her online shift experience, Vanessa holds space for the kind of growth that doesn't just look good, but feels real. Y'all go ahead and enjoy this episode. Okay, welcome Vanessa to the High Vibe Society podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Finally, this has been like a long time coming.
I know. We've been talking about it. First of all, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I've been excited since you reached out to me. So let's be clear on that. But I feel like we already knew that because the vibes were immaculate from the moment we talked.
They were there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I saw one of Vanessa's posts on TikTok and I noticed the title of your podcast, On Some Real Shift, and I was like, oh my, that's brilliant. So I kept up with your content and I'm like, I really would like, like a woman trying to like shoot her shot. I'm like, I really want to reach out to her because I really like her. I like her energy. And so I did just that. And you were so cool about it. So,
Of course.
mentioning On Some Real Shift podcast, how did you come up with that title? Like, where did this concept come from?
The title, I wanted something catchy. As you have gotten to know me, I talk a lot of shit. I am kind of witty. I don't know, I just like clever conversations. And so I wanted something creative. I wanted something that would kind of capture that. I wanted something that also, if you read the title, it would attract the specific type of audience. Like if you know what I'm saying here, then you can come on in. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to understand On Some Real Shift. Like they're just not. In terms of the content, I have been called for years to share whatever downloads I get. I'm still trying to put words to it, still trying to figure out what to even call it. Sometimes they're downloads. It's an inner knowing. I've shared with you I'm clairsentient and claircognizant. And in that, I've also felt this deep pull to kind of share that with others. But I wanted to do it in a way that is real, that is not sugarcoating anything, but also I don't want to make people feel bad. I kind of wanted to create a space for people to feel seen, heard, and supported, but also where it's realistic, right? I don't want you to feel like I'm talking at you and judging you, because if you watch any of my episodes, I talk about my own experiences. So yeah, not sure if I answered your question, but that's a little bit of how I got started.
No, 100%. And you know what I do? I'm always like looking at people's charts, right? That's kind of like my thing. So of course, Vanessa did let me take a peek. And immediately as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, that's her Pisces rising. Yes, that's her moon in Sagittarius, right? So your ascendant is in Pisces. It is all about the spiritual, the ethereal. Um, it's all about being able to be so connected to that divine energy and being able to receive those downloads. So, not surprising at all. And then when you were talking about, I just felt this need to share, right? To share what I'm learning, to share what's coming through. That's your moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the wise sage. They're the teacher. And your moon is what your soul really craves, right? So where our moons are, it's kind of the part of us no one sees. It's very private, but it's just something we feel so compelled. And we feel this natural pull to want to do. So that totally just spoke to two of your absolute biggest placements. So it's really interesting. And I tell people all the time that when I get to know someone and I have access to their charts, it's like, that game Simon with the lights, where it lights
Mhm.
up in a pattern, right? And you have to do it as well.
Yeah.
When I hear people talk, it's like in my mind's eye, it lights up the different parts of their chart. Yeah, I don't know why it does this. So like I can see your chart, and as you're talking, I'm like, boop, that was her Pisces ascendant. Boop, that was her moon in Sagittarius. And it's like the most fascinating thing to me. So it's interesting. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more of this as we keep talking. But
Oh, that's dope. That's
yeah,
super dope.
it's really, really cool. It's like watching someone's chart come to life, like right in front of me. And so I geek out, and people are like, if you tell me about my chart one more time. And I'm like, I can't help it. This is,
Please don't help it over
this
here.
is what
Please
I
don't. Tell
do.
me all the things. Yes. Tell me all
That's
the
what I
things.
do. I'm sorry. If you want to be my friend, you gotta expect that this is part of it, right?
Yeah.
So for you on your journey, because anyone that is on a healing journey, is on a spiritual journey, there had to have been like the catalyst, right? The point of something cannot continue the way that it's been going. So what was that point for you?
Okay. So I don't know that there was one specific moment.
Okay.
I don't know that I had like a rock bottom moment. But I remember being sick of my own shit and sick of the way I was treating myself. But then also sick of the way that I was allowing others to treat me. And I'd finally gotten out of really what it was I had gotten out of a 13-year off and on relationship. And is if you hear 13 years and off and on relationship in the same sentence, you know that thing was toxic, right? And he wasn't all bad, but overall that relationship expired a year or two in. Um, and the relationship finally ended, like for real this time. And it was interesting because he left me, even though I should have left him. And I predicted it, by the way, because of course I did. I told him exactly what he was going to do and how he was going to do it a year or two before it happened because I knew I could feel it in my bones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he like just basically like packed his stuff and left while I was gone, which, um, and I remember feeling so insulted, thinking, how dare you? After all of the things that I tolerated, after all the things that you did to me, which, yes, he did a lot of terrible things. I'm in no way trying to absolve him from his crappy behavior, but it really did become a choice after a while that I was continuing to choose that. And so, in that same moment that I remember feeling like an idiot, that he dragged me through the mud in every single way possible, um, that he somehow left me. And it just hit different, right? I also knew he would come back, but I don't know, I just had enough. So there was that. But it also was compounded by the fact that I was abusing alcohol. Um, I had been abusing alcohol probably from way too young, probably starting 16, 17. Um, and it got progressively worse. And if you know anything about alcohol and spirituality, alcohol and depression, they don't go together. And I was doing it not because I was addicted to alcohol, but because I was scared of who I would become without it. I thought I wouldn't be fun anymore. I thought I would lose my friends, the whole thing. But I also knew that it was terrible for me. So, the alcohol, I gave that up a few years later, but those two things are probably my biggest catalysts, I'd say. Yeah.
I feel you on that. What if I told you, based on what I saw in your chart, that that might have been meant to happen? So Libra kind of naturally rules your seventh house, which is seventh house of relationships. And, and it's about balance and harmony. And you have a placement called the South Node, which are things that we're very familiar with, but also things that sometimes we need to leave behind, right?
Mm.
Now you have it paired with Pluto, and that is Pluto's a very transformative, but also very, very intense energy. So with these two planets paired together in your chart, there's an intensity in being able to let go of relationships that aren't serving you. Sometimes you'll find that they'll get so toxic, like it comes to a head. There's this fiery climax in order to get you to transform and turn into the better version of you. So if you've ever experienced that a lot in your relationships, that they get to that point, and especially to the point where you're like, this is no longer serving me, and this is something I really need to leave and let go of, it would be because one of the lessons in your chart is that transformation for you, right? Learning how to treat yourself, learning how to choose yourself through your relationships, and letting go of things that you're with or people that you're with because they feel familiar. Is that like common thing that happened?
I don't know what my face has been doing. Okay. Just know that it is me on the inside saying, yup, on point. How do you know
Uh-huh.
that? 155%. Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
so on point. It is so, so accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you're just aware of like all of the stuff leading up to it. Like I kind of felt it in my bones. I knew that like I was abusing alcohol and this wasn't it. You were aware of that. And to the point where did you I feel like did you mention that he came back?
Oh, yeah.
Did
He
you
hit
initiate
me up.
that?
No, no. Like I was really done that time.
Mm-hmm.
It only took 13 years. I was really done that time. And he hit me up a couple months ago. Okay. Like, and I haven't responded in years at this point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just knew he would come back. But what he didn't know, it was different for me this time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Because Pluto is going to say, I'm going to make this so uncomfortable for you that you're not going to want to go back, you know? And I feel like that's what may have happened. And what it's going to do, being that it's in your chart, it's going to do that with people who can no longer come with you. And it's going to do that in every, new version or timeline in your journey. It's going to say, you can't do this anymore. I know like it feels comfortable for you. I know you might have known this person for a long time, but where you're going, this energy, it doesn't work. And all it's doing is pulling you down and pulling you back. So this is something that you might experience a lot through your life. And that Pluto is teaching you that when it comes to your relationships, you might experience a lot of death, but rebirth, right? So relationships are going to, they're going to dissolve, but you're going to have some really beautiful ones come in as well, right? So this is
Yeah.
a big, big, big deal for you. So damn, left while you were away.
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
But it was the best, it was the absolute best thing. It had to happen that way because I didn't have the self-love, the self-respect
Yeah.
to do it myself, right?
Yeah.
I needed to feel insulted in a different way
Mm-hmm.
in order to say, you know what, enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm not upset about it. In fact, we were cool for a few years afterwards. I really did forgive him. I've forgiven him. I can't walk around with that. And
Mm-hmm.
that relationship was just extremely, extremely transformative and pivotal for my growth. So I look at it in that way. I'm grateful for it. Do I wish the universe could have maybe taught me these lessons in a different way? For sure. But I was also being hard-headed and staying in things that like I knew had expired.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. It happened how it happened, and now it is. I will never look at it negatively in the fact that like I just said, it was instrumental in my growth, and without it, I don't want to know what the alternative could have been because that was bad enough. I'm good with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with 13 years
Yeah.
of shit. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So
And Libra is really important and can really teach us like a lot about our relationships. As I'm listening to you, I'm recalling something similar happening to me. But for a long time, I was like, why did that happen? Like, why? Like, universe. And that's the thing. And we get mad at universe. Universe, why you let that happen? And universe was like, I tried to save you 15,000 times. You
the universe is
kept
like,
going
now
back
why
there.
did you let that happen?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where Libra is in my chart, it's actually in my second house of values. So values, your self-worth, your self-esteem. And that is kind of like my story, relationships and how they impact myself, how I let them, how I allow them impact my self-worth and my self-esteem. So it's kind of been the story of my life, especially like in romantic relationships and
Mhm.
just the dysfunction and the disappointment and things like that. So, um, it's just so crazy. And I hope that, you know, after getting this information, that even in your relationships, like it's a little easier to kind of, I don't want to say look at it more objectively, because it's hard to look at relationships with people, no matter what they are, romantic, platonic, objectively, but with an understanding because you're that much self-aware that some of these are meant to stay and some of them aren't, you know?
Oh, I don't know if this resonates for you. I am painfully self-aware now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful. Let me just say that. But I can absolutely look at the areas where I'm misaligned in my life and recognize that something may have expired. You just like this theme has repeated itself in other ways in other relationships, not always romantic, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes romantic. Um, and I'll know, girl, you got to get out of this. You got to go. This is, but I guess I must somewhere inside must simultaneously be saying to myself, let me see how shitty it can get because I will not let go until I'm ready or
Mm-hmm.
until the universe makes it so uncomfortable. So I'm aware, but it's just awareness. It takes your body a while to catch up to it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my
What we
God,
know up
yes.
here, we don't always feel it here.
Yes.
And
Yep.
until we feel it here and here simultaneously, it's really hard to make that move, especially if you're not disciplined, if you're not really committed to being your highest self. So, I'm a work in progress.
I get it. Same. And it's also, to your point, it's also that fear of what comes next. If I let go of this thing, what's replacing it? What am I going to have? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but you and I know, for instance, we know by now because you and I have talked We know 10 million% that anytime something is being removed from our life,
Mhm.
anytime something is being forcefully removed from our life, that we try our hardest to hold on to it, but we can't. We know something better is just waiting for us on the other side, but we don't choose it. We
Yeah,
don't
it's
choose it.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah, it's literally making room. Like sometimes we don't realize we cannot bring in what it is we really need, what we're trying to manifest, because we don't have the room, because we have something in our bag that's completely misaligned. Now, to your point, we are definitely self-aware of that, but there's so many people that would rather remain in the comfort of the known, no matter what it's doing to their mind, bodies, and spirits, and don't realize that it could be so much better on the other side because they're so afraid of not knowing what that looks like? So, what kind of limiting beliefs or narratives were like the hardest for you to release?
I don't know how to say this concisely, so bear with me.
Uh-huh.
I spent my entire life um being gaslit, emotionally gaslit by somebody in my family that I'm very close with, that I love a lot. Uh, and they don't realize that they do it. Um, and now I didn't know that back then. Now I can look at it and say, you have no clue, right? You're just repeating what you know, whatever. Um, and when I say that, I mean, but anytime I brought, hey, you hurt my feelings when you said this or when you did this. I don't appreciate the way that you talk to me when you get upset. I was met with anger, deflection, defensiveness, and every time it is, you're too sensitive. That's been the biggest narrative. That's what it is, that I'm too sensitive. And so what that did was that had made me second and triple guess other people's mistreatment. And so for a long time, I thought I was just being too sensitive, when in reality, I was allowing people to disrespect the hell out of me because I didn't know what it felt to have my feelings validated. Does that make sense? By
Uh,
somebody who should have been validating my feelings, by the way.
Girl, I did a whole podcast episode on just that.
Well, there you go.
On
There you
just
go.
that, just that. What's interesting is, thank you for sharing that, is your Chiron, your wounded healer in Gemini, which I
Jesus
also
Christ.
have. And anyone born like around our time would have had Chiron and Gemini at that same time. But anyone like my age, your age, it's this whole little pocket generation of people that have dealt with the same thing. And what people don't understand when they tell sensitive people that they're too sensitive is that it literally takes us out of the energy of being ourselves, of being who we were put here to be, right? Now we're second guess. I don't know if this was you, but I know for me, I was second guessing everything about myself. Everything. I was sad, and then I got angry, and then I got mean. And then I felt like I completely lost myself because now I'm struggling being a version of myself that I know doesn't feel natural to me. So that I'm not sitting here getting offended by you telling me that I'm too sensitive. It literally, and I don't want to sound dramatic, but it's almost like being told that like rewired me.
Of course it did. How could
It
it not?
rewired, yeah, it rewired me in a terrible way, in a terrible way, and took me so far out of the energy of myself. And in doing that, I realized that I attracted so many things that were misaligned because I wasn't sitting in the right energy. And I had to live with those things and be mad when they didn't work out and be upset when my relationships didn't work out because I shouldn't have been in them in the first place. But it was like this domino effect that impacted my entire life.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have only in these last few years, sometime in my 30s, really come to grips with it because it, like I said, it came from somebody that one of the most important people in my life, right? Um, and I've forgiven them, and I accept them exactly how they are because they're not going to change at this point, right? Like boomers aren't
Right.
changing. Most people aren't changing unless
Yeah.
they're ready to do the work. But absolutely, it rewired me in the worst way. It made me second guess everything. It made me second guess just my own decisions, right? Because as a person who is extremely intuitive, extremely empathetic, and I didn't really know what these feelings and how I knew things, I didn't know. I just knew that I had made decisions from how I felt. It really messes with your decision making because, like you said, you second guess everything. You're like, well, what if what I'm feeling is not accurate? You tell somebody, hey, you hurt my feelings, and they say, no, I didn't.
Mhm.
It's over and over again since you're a kid. Yeah, it's gonna screw you up some.
Yeah. I literally had it happen to me like about a year ago. In my mind, I was like, did you ever really understand me at all? Were you ever really my friend? Where have I been coming up against this and maybe sweeping it under the rug where I shouldn't have?
I mean, listen, I asked that question about a few people in my life that I was very close with. But sometimes I do think it's just a matter of people really, it's a very cliche saying, but people really can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves.
Yeah.
And so they probably did really think that you all were friends. They probably really did think that you were friends and really loved you, but their growth and your growth are not aligned. Their level of introspection and ability to hold space for somebody else's feelings. So that's really what it is. They're not there yet because when people tell you, "Hey, you hurt my feelings. You made me feel a particular way," and if the other person is reactive, defensive, if that's just their baseline in general, I'm willing to bet it's somebody who lacks some level of self-esteem,
Hmm.
self-love, because they're receiving it as a criticism of themselves rather than saying, oh, I'm making somebody that I care about feel a particular way. And when I look at it like that, it doesn't take the pain away because it was still hurtful, but I internalize it. I'm able to internalize it less and say, you know what, you don't have the tools that I have. You don't have the insight that I have. And I don't say that to down them. We are just in two different spaces. And so you're doing the best that you can do with what you have. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to after I came down from the disappointment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
first I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, they weren't really my friends. And then I was like, no, like this is who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's has nothing to do with you. This is who they are and this is who you are. And maybe right now in this in time, those values don't align. And that's why this is happening, And I complete, gratitude for the experience and wish them well and realize that they have their own journey in that way to complete. So yeah, you're 100% right. Once I once I got out of my feelings, I was like, yeah, like I really need to zoom out on this and make sure that I'm not making this person wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing too. Not making people wrong for using the tools that are currently in their tool belt. And I think that's a really great thought that a lot of us have to challenge it and to really see it from um, a spiritual value perspective and not make people wrong about how they're showing up, but just really making sure that we're also not betraying ourselves and also not staying in relationships that don't feel good. We can't use, well, that person doesn't know as an excuse to stick around and be subject to something that doesn't feel good to us either.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I agree. It's one thing to notice this about somebody, right? To become aware. Cool, that's step one. But step two is for you to decide, is this good enough for me? Does this fall within my boundaries of how I prefer to be treated? And if not, then you can't really point the finger at the other person for much longer because you are then making the conscious decision to accept that kind of treatment, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, man. You're kind of
Absolutely.
reading me today, but okay, fine.
That's what I do. But see, but this is gonna help everybody, right?
I mean, for sure. Sure.
Yeah. So reading you with a purpose and out of love always.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I mean, I've been excited for this day, so.
Same. So I want to talk about your Pisces ascendant and how Reiki and sound healing became a part of your toolkit, which also not surprising, your Pisces ascendant. Of course you do Reiki and sound baths. Of course you do.
I'm very, I don't do a whole lot of Reiki. I'm by no means a Reiki master. I'm very much still, Reiki one. I don't do it a whole lot because I am so energetically sensitive. Um, it's taxing on me.
Mhm.
I still have, I think I posted an episode about it. I still have some work to do in terms of creating energetic boundaries for myself because I deeply care about the energetic work. And if I'm not careful, then I can take on certain energies. So I won't speak too much to the Reiki simply because it's not something that I do a whole lot of, but having the ability is nice. Having the knowledge is nice. Sound healing, truthfully, I into sound healing because I went to my first sound bath a few years ago, and I had no expectations. I had no clue what to expect. It was just a friend of a friend having a yoga event on the water, like on one of the piers in DC. And so yeah, we showed up and they asked us to lay on our backs on our mats, and they hit the crystal bowl and started the sound bath. And I'm talking about within 5 seconds or less, I just had tears streaming down my face
Wow.
immediately. I went there in a great mood. I didn't have anything particularly heavy. I was with my best friends at this event. Like I said, I had no expectations, but I learned just in that moment. I said, "Oh, this is real and this is powerful." Um, I played instruments my whole life. I am a healer. I am an energetic woman. So it just made sense to merge the two. I play intuitively. Um, it's just a really beautiful experience when you allow it to be. And it just shook me to my core my very first time.
Wow. So what did you feel? Were you feeling, and for anybody who might be listening who's never had a sound bath before, can you talk about some of the things that you're feeling physically, like sensations in the body? Are there things coming up energetically for you? You mentioned how, immediately it elicited this, emotional reaction and release from you. So what, you know, someone who has never had a sound bath expect?
Every sound bath is different. So I would say don't have any expectations. I would say go with an open mind and an open spirit to receive whatever your body and the sound pulls out from you. For me, it felt like a purging of some deep sadness or pain that I didn't know that I had at the time. And in thinking back, I honestly can't tell you what it even was. It could have been things that had been suppressed from a year or years prior, right? I don't really know. It was a completely involuntary reaction that my body had. Um, I would say I said don't go with any expectations, but go with an intention to be open. I think that's just like the most important thing. In terms of what you feel in your body, it really just depends what area, which one of your chakras needs more attention. Where are you holding tension? You might, and let me rewind. Sound baths can be done with all sorts of different instruments, different drums, different crystal bowls, Tibetan singing bowls, which are like more metal. Um, you could do wind chimes. I mean, there's just all sorts of different instruments. I prefer the crystal singing bowls. Um, and each they're easy for me to play intuitively. Each bowl corresponds to a different chakra. Um, I know some people like lead sound baths based on a particular chakra with a specific focus. Um, I already forgot your question. I
No,
forgot
you're
your,
answering it.
well, I don't know what I'm talking about. Other than, where did they're easy for me to play intuitively. Each bowl corresponds to a different chakra. Um, I know some people like lead sound baths based on a particular chakra with a specific focus. Where did I feel it in my body? Oh, I was crying. Maybe in my chest
Mm,
somewhere. Maybe it
mm,
maybe it was my heart chakra. I don't know. But I
mm.
wasn't heartbroken. I was chilling. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's literally just jammed up energy, like you said, that we don't know is there. And that is one of my favorite things is using sound, listening to frequencies. I love the crystal bowls, the tuning forks.
Oh yes, tuning forks.
Love tuning forks. There's just some like sound is just so healing. Yeah, it's one of my faves. Talk to me about the Vanessa Lynne Wellness Collective and your work as a life coach. Who is it
Oh God.
for?
Okay, all right. The Vanessa Lynne Wellness Collective. Yeah, it is for anybody who is um ready to build a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. I tend to help high achievers, high performers, because I am slash was one. Um, Tend to help a lot of leaders, CEOs, VPs, SVPs, that kind of, or entrepreneurs. Um, I had a lot of experience with that demographic. I've supported several senior level executives in my corporate career, as an executive assistant, executive business partner, just kind of depends where I'm at. And I noticed that I was working with some really incredible people always, um, some of the most influential people in their industries sometimes. And I realized that, how do I say this? Corporate smarts was just a very small part of the picture, that these were people who were walking in deep misalignment. These are people, because I'm supporting them, right? I am running their calendar, I'm running their schedule, I'm running their business plan. I'm really helping them make sure all the pieces fit together. And in a lot of those instances, you get a look into their personal life too. And you start to get to know these people in a way that you wouldn't ordinarily get to know your other colleagues. Um, and I just used to see the same thing over and over again of these people might have been performing well, but they're miserable.
Mm.
They're miserable. They had poor emotional regulation. They um, just hot ass messes on the inside, honestly. But brilliant people. Brilliant, brilliant people. But I was also one of those people. I might not have been a
Mhm.
CEO, but I was always a high performer. I was always really good at my job, but really misaligned and miserable. And I started to realize, oh, a lot of these people are using success to run away from themselves.
Mhm.
And I started accidentally coaching some of my leaders. That's really how it started. I had this way of understanding their worlds intuitively and getting to know them and anticipate what they need or communicate in a way that it was just intuitive. I don't know how else to say it. It was just very intuitive and just little things. I would say, hey, listen, I know you have this and this going on personally this weekend. So maybe let's adjust Thursday, Friday in these ways. And they would kind of look at me like, I hadn't thought of that. Right. I was adding the human piece to
Mhm.
corporate in some ways. So that's kind of how it started. Um, I do one-on-one coaching, for my shift method that I created. And I'll tell you what that is in just a second. But I also have a online self-paced coaching program that's coming out soon, for people who maybe aren't quite ready to do one-on-one coaching, it is both a time and financial investment and commitment. But I wanted to create something that allows people to still go through the work at their own pace. So I created the shift method, and essentially it can be applied to any area where you are misaligned in your life. The idea is for you to apply it to one area, and it's just, you can rinse and repeat. S is for self-awareness, because we cannot change anything if we are not aware, if we are not willing to confront it and own it and understand it and really own our role in our own suffering, right? H is for higher self. Now we understand our role. Now we need to understand who we want to be. About your higher self. Our higher self simply lives inside of us. They are not some, unattainable, perfect version of ourselves. But we need to figure out, when you are vibrating at your highest, what does it look like? How do they speak to others? How do they speak to themselves? Even how do they dress? What does their regular day look like? What are they passionate about? Who are they outside of their titles? Whether it's your job, whether it's a sister, brother, mother, daughter, friend. So you kind of go through all that and really become very clear on who your higher self is. I is for inner mastery. So we figure out, how do we handle our internal world now? F is for focused action, because you can know all the things that you have to do, but if you want to transform, you got to put it in action. You have to make the changes, and you kind of need to make a plan, because you are rewiring your brain to do something that is not natural to it, something that is uncomfortable. Your brain is designed to keep you in even an unsafe homeostasis than a healthy new. And so really coming up with a plan that says, okay, when I encounter this situation, these are the steps I'm going to take, even if it's just one. And then the T is for transformation and trust, which kind of go hand in hand, because you're now seeing the transformation in action, but you also have to have trust in yourself with your decisions and in the universe, to know that any snafus that come your way, any roadblocks that come your way, are ultimately for your benefit. And rinse and repeat.
I love that a lot, actually. So what
Thank
are
you.
some of the transformations you've seen with people using the shift method?
I've seen people walk away from long-standing careers. That's been a big one lately, is people walking away from long-standing careers that they never liked to begin with. They've hit all the levels of success, and they still feel empty inside. So that is really the demographic of most of the people that I serve right now. I've had people overcome some like health goals, which, honestly, girl, why don't you take yourself through your own program? Because I have been, and I do, but I've been fighting this one. And but yeah, I've had people overcome some issues with like food and diet. And I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a specialist in that way, in that area in any way. But it's really, like I said, it's about changing your habits, changing the way that you look at things. And I'm telling you, that first piece, that self-awareness piece, if you get that piece down, it's the rest is so doable.
Virgo is kind of like the mentor, right? They serve, but they serve in a way that helps. And when we talk about the sixth house, which is naturally ruled by Virgo, we're talking about our daily habits, our physical well-being, right? And how that translates to like our mental health and well-being. It's really that house is just really about wellness in general. And you're part of fortune, right? This is the area of our lives that is where we like unlock success and prosperity and joy and happiness, and all those things is sitting in this house. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm listening to, and I'm like, no surprise that, she has this structure in place, that she's seen success with it. You're a Taurus sun, which we forgot to mention in the beginning, right? So
Mhm.
you already are coming in with that very grounded energy, but you also have an Aries first house, right? With that Mercury, you have the North Node in there as well. So this is this willingness to like almost like experience things and go first and be like, all right, guys, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna fix this. This is how we're gonna change this, you know? So it's like they all kind of work together. I think a lot of sometimes where spirituality gets a bad rap is when people think it's just this woo-woo concept and they don't realize that you can use spirituality and spiritual concepts and woo-woo and metaphysics in a very practical way, right? If you know how to do it.
Mhm.
So I like that you're doing that. You're doing that. So what advice would you give to someone who feels misaligned but has no idea where to start?
So this is going to be woo-woo, but I
Bring
firmly
it
believe
on.
it. Um, First of all, you should really take some time to sit with yourself. And what I mean by that is exactly that. Sit with yourself, turn your phone off, turn the TV off, turn all the distractions off, and sit with your mind. A lot of people can't do it. And I don't say that in judgment. It's just the truth. We're not used to doing it. But the more comfortable you get with sitting with yourself and being able to be still with your own thoughts, not picking up your phone, not checking, your iPad, um, the more you can hear your intuition, the more your body will speak to you. And your intuition is not going to be super loud. It's not going to be a big flashing sign. It's going to be an inner knowing, and you're not going to have all the facts. You're not going to have, oh, what the where, the when, and the why, and the how. You're not going to have all that, but you are going to know the answer.
Mhm.
You're going to know what to do. You're going to know where to start in some capacity. Because at the end of the day, and shameless plug, I just did an episode on this about your intuition.
Okay.
Um, that is really what tells us everything we need to know. It really is.
Yeah.
And when we're misaligned, it's because we're not listening to our intuition. We are ignoring that voice that is telling us, hey, girl, this ain't it. Or you need to move a little bit closer to this side, not that side, you know? But because we are so conditioned to look for proof or data, unless you get a little hippy dippy, most people are not trusting their intuition. Most people, like I said, don't know how to sit with themselves. So anyway, long story, don't ask people for advice.
Oh,
You know
that's the big
everything that
one.
you need.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Nobody knows you like you know you. You just got to sit still and listen and
Hmm.
feel. We are so afraid to feel as a society.
Hmm.
We're so afraid to feel.
Hmm.
And I get it. Feeling doesn't always feel good, right? And sometimes when we, you know, feel and it doesn't feel good, we shut ourselves down from feeling again because we don't want to feel that. But that is where we find the answers. It's where we find the transformation. It's where we find the healing. It's where we find the more aligned path, you know? Pisces, the North Node is in Pisces right now. It's in the sign of the feeler right now.
Shit.
It's in Pisces. So it's almost like the universe asking the entire planet, like, get into your feels. Like, we want to like move the energy of the planet in the direction that it's meant to be going in. We know based on everything going on in the world that this energy is shifting, right? That the planet is up leveling, the planet is vibrating at a different level. We're being asked to really feel our way through it, right? Virgo has the South Node right now. It's what we need to let go of. It's the things that we're comfortable doing. It's the structures that we have in place that, we might not need to have in place right now. Maybe we just need to intuitively feel where we need to go. And as somebody who's a Pisces sun and a Virgo rising, this has been really difficult. Even though I'm really good at feeling, my Virgo rising does not want to let go of the things that I think I should do just because this is logically what makes sense, right? So we're
Yep.
being asked as a planet to really not completely let go of the logic, but lean into the intuition instead. So that is my hope and prayer for all of us. So, Vanessa, tell the people where they can find you, girl.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Okay. So my podcast is On Some Real Shift. On Some Real Shift Pod on Instagram and TikTok. And on YouTube, it's On Some Real Shift Podcast. For my Vanessa Lynne Wellness Collective. So it's my coaching, both my one-on-one and my online program. And I do wellness retreats. Didn't tell y'all about that, but it is VanessaLynnWellness.com or Vanessa Lynne Wellness Co. On Instagram and TikTok.
Wow, y'all, what an incredible conversation with Vanessa. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired as much as it did me. If you love today's episode, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because we've got even more powerful conversations coming your way inside the Higher Vibe Society podcast. And if you're ready to take what we talked about today to the next level, join us inside the Higher Vibe Society membership. It's my sacred space where we blend astrology, cardology, energy work, somatics, and coaching to help you live boldly in your authentic energy. You can also connect with me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm always sharing downloads and aha moments and insights to help keep you inspired and aligned between episodes. All my links are below, so come say hi. And if you feel like it's time for your own breakthrough, you can book a complimentary alignment call with me. We'll look at your chart and cards together to map out your next aligned steps so that you can finally create the life that you have always wanted. Thank you so much for being here. It truly means the world to me. And I'll see you next time on another episode of the Higher Vibe Society podcast.